Hi everybody, and welcome back to Plastic Models by Regular Dude and a short review number 5. So once again, for my friend Keith Short, I am going to do a review of one of his kits that he will be building at some point. I'm not building it, I'm just doing a review for him. In this case, it is the Bronco Models Veruschflakwagen 8.8cm flak. As you can see, it's a tracked vehicle with an 8.8cm flat gun in it. It is Bronco Models CB35062, and this one is copyrighted 2014. Alright, first up, let's take a look at the instructions. And let me first say that if it looks a little bit dimmer than normal, I had to turn off my overhead light because of the glare, because of this glossy paper. So let's take a look at the instructions themselves. Nice glossy picture on the front, same box as the box art. Looks like we're in 3 different languages here. English, German, and I'm gonna assume Chinese. Inside, we've got the usual icon instructions showing the different what the different little icons mean. We have color call-outs here in Mr. Hobby, Hobby Color, Humbrol, and Tamiya, which Tamiya is nice. Usually I don't include that. They also have lots of things that don't match up. Then we have a parts list. Diagram of all of the parts trees, decals, and photo etch. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail with these. They're just good old regular instructions. One of the things that's nice is they show where the photo etch is in these nice little CAD renderings here. I guess they're CAD, I'm not sure. But see, there's all kinds of little photo etch parts hither and yon. More photo etch here. Now I can't really tell from the instructions if it's an either or thing, whether you can use the photo etch or just use what's in the kit. We'll take a look at this block, this jack block here, once we get to the actual parts, if I see it, and we'll see if it comes with detail molded on, or if you are forced to use the photo etch. So it just goes on from there. Tra-la-la-la-la. Stuff everywhere. Pretty concise. There's no verbiage saying anything other than stuff like this. But having built a Bronco kit, it is easy enough to follow the instructions, but there just are a lot of really small parts. So like stuff like this is just, I'm sure, going to be chock full. You have options such as transport position for like the seats. And then it looks like putting the gun onto the hole and then doing the side skirts. So that's pretty much it. I mean, instructions are instructions, and again, having used them before, they work out really well. And I never had any problems. It has some nice color callouts for the spare ammunition. You've got ammo boxes, the ammo tubes, storage tubes. So yeah, that's the instructions. And then with that, you get a color guide, and it looks like there's only one marking option. So now I'm not sure, and this one is in trial at Oxbow, Denmark, summer 44. So I'm going to assume this wasn't a, now it says copyright 2013 here. I'm going to assume this wasn't a production vehicle, but it might be. Then they also give you this nice glossy print if you want to hang it on your wall or whatever. So that's kind of cool. And that is the instructions. And all of the sprues come in a nice plastic bag to keep things from getting scuffed up. So let's take a look at Sprue A. And let's see, I'm going to zoom in. Some of them are going to be bigger than the frame, but I can move it around. This is Sprue A, and it looks like superstructure components, or the armored sides that go up and around the gun itself, with, like I said, some really tiny parts. But if you can handle tweezers, they're not too bad. So let's take a look at the molding. Molding looks really nice. Now there are some big ejector pin marks, and I'm thinking those will most likely be visible from the inside. So because this looks like possibly the back panel. I'm not sure, but there's ejector pin marks on them. Yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah. So that's interesting. So I'm wondering, yeah. So anyway, front of the superstructure all looks pretty good. Shovel. So the molding looks really nice. And again, with slide molding, you have the hollowed out, I'm assuming these are exhausts, so they're hollowed out, which makes it really nice. Now they're somewhat shallow, but once they're painted black and a little bit of soot put on them, you'd never notice that they were actually only just, you know, pretty shallow. But you could drill them out more if you wanted, I suppose. But on those rounded parts, there doesn't really seem to be much in the way of parting seam lines. They're probably really very faint, so it should be really easy to clean up. So one thing about Bronco plastic is it's generally very nicely molded. So that's Sprue A. So here is Sprue B. And as I noted earlier, there are a ton of really tiny parts. They all look good, but they are small. Now, here's an example here of extremely faint mold seam lines, part lines, whatever you want to call them, parting lines. Very easy to clean up. So, which is nice, especially since you have some really tiny parts here. But as I said earlier, everything looks really nicely molded. Lots of fine detail on there, bolts, plates, such and such. Very nice. Looks really good. Sprue B. And here is another Sprue B. Actually, there's two of this one. And that's the drive sprockets, the idlers. Probably, I'm assuming this part probably goes with the idler. Thinking this is the crane device used for swinging ammo around. Very, very fine grab handles. Now these grab handles here, I can see the mold parting lines, so that's going to take a little cleanup. So if I were building this kit, I would probably opt to make my own grab handles, or whatever handles these are, out of wire, just so I wouldn't have to worry about cleaning that stuff up. But again, ultra tiny parts. Some kind of a I'm thinking these right here are probably the supports for folding down the sides of the vehicle. But that's just a guess. I'm just going off of the way it's designed. It's got like a little fork deal there that has heads on either side, so like there's a pin going through it. Something that can be swung to and fro. But I don't know for sure. But very nicely molded again. Lots of nice bolt detail. Some ejector pin marks, but they're on the inside where the parts go together, so that is a non-issue. So anyway, this is the other part B of which there are 2. Then we have a sprue of Sprue B-A, another B sprue, and there are 4 of these. Torsion bars, road wheels, and associated parts, and an ultra tiny butterfly nut, wing nut, whatever you want to call it, right there. Now there is a little bit of flash here. Not evident. Yep, same spot on the other parts, so something to look for. But again, nice detail, bolt heads, etc. And the way these are molded, there is no seam line running down the center of the circumference of the road wheels. All you have to worry about is cleaning up the sprue gates, so there's no seam to have to sand down. So that's kind of nice. So anyway, Sprue B-A, quantity of 4. We have Sprue B-C, and there are 4 of these as well, and it's more road wheels, molded the same way, no center line, and some little mounts for tow hooks, looks like, toe clevises, whatever you want to call them, and then these ultra tiny parts right here with bolt heads on them, right there. So those are nice and small. So that is BC, quantity of 4. All right, here is Sprue C. More superstructure parts, it looks like, with a lot of really nice detail on it. This side here has some ejector pin marks, but hopefully they're in spots where you won't notice them. Otherwise, you're gonna have to fill them because they're pretty deep. Lots of nice molding going on. Lots of really fine, small, in dimension parts here. Lots of nice detail again. There's a little bit of flash right there, a little bit right there, but nothing serious. There's a piece right there, just fell off. More nice detail here. All of it's molded really well. So these parts here, I don't know what they're supposed to represent, but they are shaped to fit here. So that's going to cover these ejector pin marks. These other ones here, they may be hidden, invisible, I don't know. But they are pretty deep, so if not, it's going to take a little bit of work to fill those in. But nothing too serious. But overall, looks really good. And that is Sprue. Oh, what sprue is that? C. And here is another Sprue C. So this it's more of the superstructure, more of the parts that go around the gun, the armor plating, and then we have these gun parts here. This is a this is the barrel, and I'm assuming the rest of the barrel. Looks pretty good. There is a mold seam line there that's kind of wonky looking from the mold process, but should just sand right off. And then here's the gun travel lock. So make a note of that in your brain, because I think part of this might be available on the sprue frets, or the photo etch frets, but I'm not sure. But we'll take a look. But anyway, that is that. This has got some nice little handle detail here, bolts, more small parts, but it all looks really good. Now, there are some mold seam lines right here. They're a little more pronounced. It'll take a little bit more work to get cleaned up. But generally, when you have weird parts that are molded like that, they're going to be a little more prevalent. But the thickness of these plates here is really nice. They're not overly thick, and they haven't tried to bevel the edges to make them look thinner. It's overall pretty thin, so I'm assuming that it's to scale. But that is the other Sprue C. Here we have Sprue D, which is the upper part of the hull and the main portions of the side of the upper superstructure, the surround that goes around the gun itself. Real nice engraving here for where these access panels go into place. Nice seams there. Take some panel line wash really well. More small parts here. Then we have the jack. The jack is detailed really nicely. A little bit of flash on this side. Final drive covers. Nice detail on those. Really some big sprue gates. So that's going to take some care to cut those without cutting too far into the actual part itself. They're pretty hefty. So those will take a little bit of work. Hatches, got some nice screw head detail going on there. Here and here. Looks pretty good. More little teeny tiny parts. Axe. The tool clamps, you know, they're molded on, but they look pretty good with the this latch part being hollowed out. These side panels now, let's see, but looking at the illustration, this part right here has some pretty hefty ejector pin marks. However, when they're in place, they're kind of facing downwards, so it'd be really difficult to actually see them unless there's an option to have the sides folded down, if that's the way it works. But if not, you would never see these. Still might not be a bad idea to fill them in, but at least there's none down here. There are some tooling marks though. You can see like little circles like from where the actual mold was cut. There's all these little these little protrusions here. I don't know what that's for, but that looks pretty good. Yeah, so that is Sprue D. All looks really good. Okay, I thought I would take a look at these instructions here after looking at those last large parts, and the sides can be folded down. There's a lot of rifles that go in there, so I don't know if they would actually cover up. Those ejector pin marks, but I would think that those would have to be filled unless you wanted to be able to see them, or unless you just don't care or it's not an issue. But the one part that I thought was a ammo slinging thing, it's not what it is. It's part of the bracket system to hold all three sides up when the gun is not being used. Okay, then we have Sprue D-A. Lots more small parts. These seats, I'm thinking elevation and such wheels. A lot of really tiny parts. Now these have a little bit more cleanup to do because these mold parting lines are a little more visible, especially on these little parts right here. Hopefully you can see them. In this little hook part here, you can see them. So those parts will take a little bit more cleanup than most of the rest of them. But nothing that's really too difficult. Just have to be really careful because of the size of the parts. Now here's another part right here. This part 14. Right there, that is just obscene. That is super tiny. But that's also dragging. But, like I said, if you can handle tweezers, it's not too... Oh boy, I'd end up launching that into oblivion. But anyway, really tiny. But the molding, for the most part, looks pretty good, except for those few notations there. These wheels look good. So there you go. That's part D-A, quantity 2. We have Sprue E-B. So I didn't see just an E, but here's an E-B. And these are the wooden ammo crates. Some ammo and the ammo canisters. Those look good, slide molded, so they, you know, nice and hollow throughout. You're not having to glue two halves together and worry about seam lines. The ammo looks pretty good. A little bit of cleanup on the edges, molding seam lines, which will be made a little bit more difficult because of these raised ridges here where the actual projectile goes into the shell casing itself. Very nice detail on the ends. The crate detail looks nice. Nice wood texture going on there. So paint and a little bit of a wash would make that stand out really well. Nice handle detail on the ends. Kind of a dovetail thing going on here to link the corners together. It's a nice little detail which will give it some authenticity. Look like a dovetailed joint on the side of the on the ends of the ammo crates. Hinge detail, very fine hinge detail on the lids. You might not even be able to see it in the video, but really nice. So that is Sprue E-B. Here's Sprue F-A, and it's another storage bin here. Don't know what that is. I think that might be a bracket for this rangefinder here. Yeah, this looks like all the parts for the rangefinder. I remember seeing that in the instructions. This looks like an adjustable kind of rig for it. So yeah, and that's the optics right there. That will glue onto there, and that's what the bloke would smash his face up against to look through the rangefinder. So all that looks really good. Oh man, that's nice. Even detail on the inside of the box. So if you have that carrying case, that protective case for the rangefinder, there's all kinds of detail in here. That's really nice. There's no ejector pin marks on that. So yeah, that's a nice little touch right there. That looks good. So anyway, that is Sprue F-A. And then finally, of the large sprues, or the bigger sprue things, there's a couple of bags here. This is Sprue F, and this looks like the part of the elevation mechanism here, part of the mount for the gun. Then we have this part here for the gun. Looks like the platform. More of the associated hardware. Breech block right here. Breech. Yeah, all looks really good. Molding on these is really nice. Little teeny tiny parts again, like that one. Those are the ones that are a little tougher to clean up because they're so small. But real nice bolt or rivet detail or whatever going right along those edges there. Looks good. There are ejector pin marks in here, but I guarantee those won't be able to those won't be seen once everything's put together. So no problems there. So anyway, that's Sprue F. Looks like the gun mount. It looks like another barrel, maybe. Wow, weird, but looks good. Next up, and I'm not going to open this up because I think these will fall out of this bag really super easily once I put it back in the box, but these are the rifles. And wow, I am going to cut this open. These are Sprue M, and there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them. So these are all the mounts. These are the mounts and the rifles. So we've got, this would be the mount part where the buttstock goes. Then there's this part here, but here is the flippin' trippy part. We've got Oh, wow, this is crazy. Okay, so here's the rifle here. Okay. The rifle does not have the bolt in it. You have a choice of a closed bolt or an open bolt to install on this rifle. That is nuts. This is the bolt that has been lifted, pulled back, and open, ready to take a stripper clip of 7.92, aka 8mm ammunition. That is really cool. Detail on them is really good. The trigger guard on that thing is just phenomenally small, and the trigger in there, nuts. That is swinging right there. Yeah, really nice. So those rifles look really good. And there are 8 of them on Sprue M. All right, then we have these parts here. Now here's a big tarp. I'm not going to pull that out because it's kind of stuck in there. But it's a nice looking tarp rolled up with belts around it. Then we have packs for the little trooper dudes. The nice thing is they are not really all molded the same, so they're not like all 3 exactly. Now each one of these is probably comes out of the same mold, but at least the individual packs on each one are slightly different from each other, so there's some variety, and depending on your placement you can make it look pretty mixed up. Not really any mold seam lines on the bottom where this detail is, so that's nice. There's a little bit on the edge of the tarp here, but that's easy enough to clean off. So the detail looks really good on those. And then obviously a track jig. No sprue numbers or letters on those. Then we have the lower hull. Really nice fine detail here. Really nice detail on the back. Lots of mounting points. Little teeny tiny bit of chain. Now, I'm assuming that some of the chain in the photo etch could replace this here, and that would be nice because the way this is, it's molded onto that place. So it seems to be defying gravity because it's at an angle, and the chain should be hanging down like this, as opposed to being stuck on that little plate. Must be a retaining chain for that that removable cap there. But, you know, only so much you can do with the molding process. So that would be a good place for photo edge. Clean that off of there, get it smooth, and boom. These are nice and thin here. I don't know if they're going to actually be visible once everything's together, but at least they are thin. So, yeah, that all looks really good. Little bit of texture on there, and the whole bottom of the hull is detailed as well. So that way, if you enter in a contest and you know a contest judge gets a dental mirror and sticks it underneath there, they can see that it's actually detailed. So, you know, if that's your thing. So that's the lower hull. Next up, we have the track links, and there are, let's see, a bunch in that bag. So I pulled one of them out. And let's take a look. Detail's really nice. No ejector pin marks. So it's just a matter of cutting it off the sprue. Excuse me. Cutting it off the sprue and cleaning up those where the sprue gate's attached. Hollow guide horns, which is very nice. And as you can see here, the ends are hollow, because you use these little track pins here, and there's a lot of them. So not sure how many there is, and I'm not sure how they fit together. I don't know if they're friction fit or if you do have to place a little bit of cement on them, but that seems kind of risky, but may have to do it. But anyway, the tracks look really, really good. And the nice thing is, is it all packs into this nice bag right here. So it's all nice and neat and tidy. So the next thing is this bag here. I'm not going to open this, but we have actual, looks like wooden crates. And I'm assuming this is an aftermarket bit. I'm not sure this came with the kit or not. I don't remember if Keith told me or not, but you have this really nice turned one-piece barrel. Hollow on the end. Nice detail. That's a nice gun right there, folks. And nice crates. So there's that. So as not to get fingerprints all over it, I have my cotton gloves on. All right, so we've got some markings here. Some gauges. Some really nice printing on here. Balkenkreuz ammo information, I'm assuming for the crates. But all that looks really nice. So that's the decals, not decals, decals, not decals, decals. That's the way us crazy Americans say it. Except for the ones that are cool. All right, and then we got some photo etch here. Screen. Nice interwoven screen detail, mesh detail. Wrenches, nice photo etch wrenches, those look good. And a whole bunch of other little teeny tiny parts. Wow, that's what, oh, and that's nice. I built kits like this before. The end of the firing pin side of the flange end of the ammo. Got this nice round with all this nice etching in it that glues on the end to make it look all nice and detailed. And then we got these little tiny hooks. Man, that, oh my goodness, that's some small stuff. Eesh. That is super small. I'm thinking if I built this thing, all these parts 29, probably not going to get used. 39, maybe not. 46, wow. That hurts my eyeballs. And then we have some vision blocks. All right, so that is the photo etch and those little parts there. So there you have it, the Bronco CB35062 Veruschflakwagen 8.8cm flak. That looks like quite a kit. And honestly, I don't know if I would ever tackle trying to build one of these, because boy, that is a lot of really tiny parts. But I can guarantee when it's done, it's going to look pretty dandy. So yeah, that's a really, that kit is really something. So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. Keith, if you watch this, I hope you enjoyed that review, because man, that's a lot of parts and I don't envy your eyesight. So that's that. The Bronco Veruschflakwagen 8.8cm flak short review number 5. So as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude. If you have any experience with this kit, please put some comments down in the comments section down below and let me know what you think. Keith could probably would probably really appreciate some info on this if you have any. Also, if you liked the video, whack that like thumb button. If you didn't like it, whack the down thumb button. And if you haven't yet, maybe subscribe if you like the content. So, as always, thanks for watching Plastic Models by a Regular Dude, and I will see you all later.